Hi guys, welcome to not DTTV, but welcome along. Today what we're going to do is we are going to discuss the work that's going to be the next project that you guys undertake. Within the project you're looking at sustainability and wider issues. Sustainability is an important factor for any designer, and you guys are looking at creating a written piece for this particular project. The project itself will also be based upon the craft knife project that you did earlier in the year. As such, the product that you'll see in this example is a window cleaner. That's obviously unrelated to what you're doing. You are doing the craft knife that you designed and considering the impacts that it may have. You may need to look more widely around the craft knife. You may also need to go into more detail regarding its manufacture and what you actually propose to do. So you may have to revisit that project. If that's the case, then please do so. What we'll do today is we'll talk about some of the resources that are available to you in helping you to do so. Normally, as part of this project, you have access to something called the Sustainability Handbook for design and technology teachers, which is available from the LRC. Clearly, you don't have access to that at this stage, but that's no major problem. Quite often, students do the whole project without even looking at it, but it's a useful resource. If we get back to college, it's something you may choose to look at. Don't go and buy it because there's no point in you doing so. Below, there's then a series of different resources. First of all, the sustainability PowerPoint. That PowerPoint is the PowerPoint that I will be talking you through in a separate video today, so have a watch of that. And we'll talk about sustainability issues and get you guys thinking about some of the key aspects of that. Below it then is a lecture by Rose Bailey. It's the notes and slides that came along with a lecture that she ran last year. In fact, she's run it for several years, but obviously, due to our current situation, she's not able to get into college. We will aim to get her in at some stage so you guys can listen to her talk. It's very informative. Whether that will happen, obviously, within the scope of this project is a different matter. Finally, we then have an example of what you're heading towards. That project or particular project looks like this. Within this project, what we've got is we have the consideration of a window cleaner. So you can't copy this verbatim. The details within it are not going to be the same as your craft knife. Then what we've got is we've got a series of sheets which are written context. You will notice that each of the aspects are broken down. So we've got sourcing of materials, where the manufacturing happens, transport, and this is all within the life cycle assessment of the window cleaner. It also is then broken down into the blue overview, green environmental, purple social, and then orange economic. Now, whilst this is not a complete 100% you have to do it this way, this is the way we suggest you do it. It allows you to structure your work correctly. It allows you to ensure that you've covered the points in enough detail. And by the end of this project, if your own response to the sustainability section looks similar to this in terms of volume and in terms of detail, then you're looking at a high A and the quality of it will be very good. Some people, when they undertake this project, don't put their full workload into it and they end up producing significantly less, and that obviously affects your mark. So within this project work, you can see here we've got the key factors here, and you'll notice that these emboldened titles, so this retail, use, disposal, etc., are key aspects which you should cover. You will notice also within it that you're looking at the main body of the craft knife, but also you'll be looking at the spring, the slide, maybe the blade, maybe any other components or parts that you have designed yourself. This then goes through into then looking specifically at the sustainability issues, including use. Within this, this is a more detailed set version of what happened in the LCA. So you may find that there are some overlaps. That's absolutely expected and not a problem at this stage. You will also notice within it that this is then where the student is talking about, you could argue, the debate. They're showing that they are debating the issues. That doesn't mean you need to resolve them. What it is showing your awareness of them. So for instance, sourcing of materials, you've got key issues where plastics come from, the crude oil, and how impactful that is on the planet. You've then got the fact that without those things, we live in a society that relies on plastic, relies on crude oil. Without those things, we wouldn't be able to have the things we have and live the way we live. So there are pros and cons. There are not necessarily definitive final answers. You can suggest ways that you think you might be able to mitigate issues or change problems with your craft knife to make it better, to make it more sustainable. but it's unlikely that you can resolve things like the fossil fuel reliance that we have globally at the moment. So that's sustainability. We then have social issues specifically, which are then looking, so the first one was environmental issues, then we're looking at social issues. You'll notice also ripple effects, so aspects where something has a knock-on effect and then causes something else to happen. Sometimes that's something like employment. So if you create a job somewhere, what that will do then is that will then mean that the person who's doing the job is paying taxes, which obviously benefits the government. They also have money in their pockets, so they can then spend money at local businesses and local retailers and wholesalers. That then allows those people to have money and then has a economic knock-on effect. So feel free to look at ripple effects and what they do. Finally then, economic issues, so probably more related to what I've just said, but again, it will have ripple effects, looking at what impacts your product has in terms of selling it, creating jobs, etc., etc. Okay, so that's what you're aiming to do. The project will last up until the start of your NEA, so look out for deadlines that will be posted on Edmodo. If you've got questions, as always, email me and I will respond to them as we go. You could also put things up on Teams, and I will post things to Teams if questions come up routinely or regularly.